Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Real Birding Podcast, the show where we crack open the world of birding and talk about our own birding adventures. I'm Will Keller, coming to you from Charlotte, North Carolina.
And I'm Caleb Putnam, currently in West Olive, Michigan.
Well, Caleb, I am so pumped because I'm going to get to learn a little bit more about what you do, because we are going to talk to your boss of sorts at Identiflight, Susan Downey. We are so excited because you and I have both worked tangentially in the energy industry. I have for a few years and you have for longer. And it's kind of this constant balancing act that we think about working in this industry of how do we continue to produce electricity for the humans that rely on it, while limiting environmental impacts like carbon emissions, and especially with things like wind turbines, limiting bird strikes. This is the thing that I hear a lot as somebody who works in the industry, and as a birder, people say, well, how do you feel about bird mortality caused by wind turbines? And we're going to talk to the co-founder of Identiflight, which is a company that is taking on an initiative to lessen the impact on birds that wind turbines have. So I'm really pumped.
I haven't been this excited to do an episode in a long time, and this is such a fun topic because people don't know about it. There's this incredible work going on, and most birders have not even heard about it. And this is the industry leader too. There are competitors, but like this Identiflight is right at the cream of the crop. Yeah. So we're really going to get it right from the horse's mouth today.
Amazing. All right, all that after the break. Let's do it. All right, Susan Downey, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks. The horse is here.
That wasn't a question, that choice of words, Caleb.
Yeah, I should have probably thought that one through a little better, eh?
Maybe.
Let's see. I'll check my paycheck amount on the next one coming in here.
Ouch. No, hi. Thanks. This is really fun. I'm really excited to be here. I love to talk about birds and Identiflight. So let's do it.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, for listeners who haven't heard of Identiflight, can you explain in simple terms what it is and how it works?
Yes, it is the coolest thing in the world. I currently have the coolest job in the world. It is a robot vision system that we put into wind farms. And what it does is it will scan 360 degrees, look for anything that moves. If it sees something that moves, it'll target it. It'll determine if it's a bird. It'll determine what kind of bird it is. And if it is in the United States, a bald eagle or a golden eagle, will track it. And as it comes near a turbine, we will send a command to shut down the turbine. And so then the bird can just keep going, doing its bird thing. It doesn't have to worry about the turbines because we're going to shut it down as it goes by. And then once the bird is all clear, we will send another command to do the all clear and start the turbines back up.
It's so interesting, and it's such an elegant solution. It's one of those things that sounds too simple. What's the right way to say this? It's like, well, why don't they just put a camera out there? And until very recently, within the last few years, it probably was impossible because the camera technology wasn't good enough. Not the facial recognition, but the ability to recognize the bird wasn't good enough. But am I right in thinking that we have just been kind of on the precipice of this for years?
Yes. So the overall company, Boulder Imaging, has always been doing high-speed imaging, high-speed inspection, looking for things that are different, looking for something very specific. And so it was fairly easy to just transition it to, no, it wasn't fairly easy. We were able to transition it to birds and looking for different kinds of birds and what's out there. And then the cameras had to get better. The optics had to get smaller. Everything has kind of come together, and it's still morphing into this perfect system, and hopefully we'll get it smaller and cheaper and they can go everywhere.
And Susan, it was always really interesting to me to find out that you all were working with dollar bills, right? Do I have this correct? Like cash currency, and then looking for
Yes.
quality control and blemishes, something like that?
Yep. All of the dollar bills, US dollars in your pocket and everybody's has gone through a Boulder imaging system on one end or the other that we inspect all the paper that the money is printed on after the security features are put in. And then we also inspect the money after it comes back to the Federal Reserve. And at 40 notes per second, we can tell you recycle, reuse, counterfeit, the serial number, the denomination, everything about it, and then it goes back out. So just super high speed, looking at very minute little things and being able to tell differences.
And how did you go from that to birds? Like, how did that transition happen? Is that just the entrepreneurial spirit and creativity of you and Carlos?
To some extent, we had just a business neighbor who was looking for a solution, Duke Energy in Wyoming. They needed a solution. They were getting in trouble with the government for killing too many birds. And they just came to us and said, hey, what can you do? Is there anything? And Carlos Jorquera, the real brains behind all this, he's like, yeah, I can do that. That was his go-to statement for everything. He could invent anything. And so they spent 4 years prototyping, figuring it out, testing, and now here we are 12 years later in 6 continents.
So it's funny you say that. I currently work for Duke Energy, and I overheard a phone call the other day. Years ago, we reached out to this company, Boulder Imaging, to alleviate some of these issues.
No
and
way.
I'm like, I wonder if they're talking about some sort of bald eagle or osprey nesting on a pole somewhere in Florida or something like that. So, that does ring some bells.
Yep, that's us.
Funny.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So yeah, it was just the next step of Carlos inventing what needs to be invented.
It's really apparent to me, as having worked as a contractor for you guys now for almost 2 years or something like that, the potential to take this technology in new and unpredictable areas that we would never have thought about. And Will and I thought of one before we started recording it. I thought we'd at least ask you about it. The ivory-billed woodpecker rediscovery, right? The problem has always been is that nobody can get a good image of it. And the observers are out all day long making noise and scaring the bird away, assuming it exists. But I was just thinking, couldn't you put up a couple 10 camera systems throughout whatever complex in Arkansas or Louisiana? And then it's the cameras are running all day long and picking up every single bird. Like, if it's there, you're going to get it eventually, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That would be so fun.
Oh my gosh.
The more we, I mean, personally, I'm a scientist, and the more we can use it for science and discovery, that's amazing. I mean, we're doing it for industry and we're doing it for energy, but if we can throw in a little bit of science into this too, that'd be amazing.
Well, we just have to figure out who can fund that project for the Ivory Bill.
Oh, you don't think we can crowdsource that? Oh, I'm sure we can crowdsource it. I would throw in I would definitely chip in. Can you imagine?
That would be amazing.
And if you rediscovered the bird and actually got because everybody keeps saying, like, how come all the photos look so bad? And you never get the money shot where it's like, oh, wow, the bird really is alive. We would get it. I really believe that. So.
Oh, no. And we do. Right. We did that here in Colorado. What was it? Spring. We had a wood stork come through. It was like the first wood stork in 90 years, something like that. In Boulder County, there's been no record of a wood stork, but our system outside of our building caught it fly over. So there is a record of a wood stork flying through Boulder County now. Well, it's not official because it's an automated system, but we're going to figure out how to get eBird to do something like that. So yeah, that's the pond it was at the Alex and Mike's pond. That's where it landed for a while, but it flew right over our building.
And
the day before.
The building is up here, interestingly. So the day before it was down here. The day of was up here, and then the day after, or a couple days later, no, actually it might have been weeks. It was refound far to the east. So very interesting stuff. And I have to say, Susan, when I received the images from Erin that day, she goes, "What is it?" As soon as I saw it, I'm like, "That is a wood stork. That has got to be one of the rarest birds in Colorado right now." And I go to the eBird map and I'm like, oh my gosh, totally was one.
Yeah, there's no Boulder County records. So, but we saw it fly right over our building. So yeah, we could find an ivory-billed woodpecker. Absolutely, we could.
Yeah.
Well, let's see if we can fund it someday. That would be just the coolest cat's meow that I've ever heard of. So, Susan, one of the things that's really jumped out at me, and this really makes me think about it, it's a really nice segue, is Identiflight is able, because the camera is sitting there watching 20, or not 24/7, but from dawn to dusk, all 360, and any speck in the sky, it picks it up. Whereas, Will and I stand in the cornfields for consultant firms all day, every day, and we can only look one direction. We miss specks, we get tired, and so the system must be so good at detecting birds and minimizing fatalities. Like, how good is it? Like what metrics do we know?
We know from our first study, which was done on our systems, we reduced eagle fatalities by 85%. We are now well beyond that. We are at the 90+% of reducing bird fatalities, not just eagles anymore, because that first study was just bald and golden eagles, and now it's worldwide. You put observers in wind farms and the bird goes behind them and you miss them. And so it doesn't really reduce fatalities. I mean, it will and it can, but like you said, you're tired, you get distracted. And Identiflight doesn't do that. And so we definitely are 90+ saving the birds. It's amazing. It's absolutely incredible.
I've always wondered, you hate to bring up regulatory framework in a fun podcast episode, but there has to be a reason for why this protection is happening. And I imagine in North America, it's the Bald and Golden Eagle Protection Act and the Migratory Bird Treaty Act. But I don't get the sense that like every single wild bird that falls under the Migratory Bird Treaty Act, every time one's tripping the filter, the wind turbines are going down. So are there certain birds that are more susceptible to this that are being targeted?
It's a bad look to kill an eagle in the United States, but it's not necessarily turkey vulture, which is very much a migratory bird. So you don't want to be a turkey vulture. And if you are, you want to have a friend who's an eagle. And you want to hang out with them. It is up to, how do you say it? There's no real voluntary altruism to put our systems in wind farms. It's usually a reaction to a wind farm getting in trouble. And so it depends on what birds the regulatory people think are the most important or put a dollar value on. In Europe, they've started doing that. They put euro values on bird fatalities. Spain, just about everything is protected now. The eagles, the vultures, the storks, but now also ravens, red-billed choughs, rollers, your European rollers.
Wow.
All of them are protected now. And we know these birds. We can see these birds. We can identify these birds. And so if we see them, we'll be able to at least try to save them. The smaller birds, they have to come a lot closer to our cameras before we can see them. So an eagle, we can see 2 kilometers out. That's not a problem. But these little birds, like even a kestrel, it's a lot sooner. And so as soon as we see it, we have to send the command to shut down the turbine. And it depends on how quickly the turbine shuts down. So if it shuts down in 30 seconds, that gives us some leeway. But if it takes 2 minutes to shut down, the second we see any of these little birds, we're going to have to shut it down. And that's going to be hard on energy production.
Yeah. And I wanted to point out that from a biology perspective, it's really important to save these predatory birds, because as you go further up the food chain, the fewer individuals an ecosystem can support, which means every single additional fatality that you have that isn't quote unquote natural has a more and more deleterious effect on the ecosystem as a whole. So I just think this is such an incredible service, because when you see those studies that show that 250,000 to 750,000 birds are killed by wind turbines every year, my question is always, how many of them are hawks, eagles, falcons versus songbirds? Because, just from a biologist's dispassionate perspective, those songbird fatalities aren't quite as important as the predator fatalities.
Right. And I do think those numbers are the predators. My guess it's higher if it's not. But I think that's the number I've heard for the big birds, for the vultures and the eagles and hawks. So, but hopefully in the US, we're going to get hawks on our list pretty soon. There's a few wind farms that have nesting sites of It's either Swainson's or Farouge. I can't remember. And so maybe we'll get to start saving those. That'd be so amazing.
That would be amazing. Yeah. I also was going to add, Will, I totally agree with everything you were saying there, but if you look at Egyptian vulture, Ruppel's griffin, some of these Eurasian things, as a birder, you can go out and find them. They're not that hard to find, but the world populations of many of these are really low, like in the low thousands. So it gives you the impression of being kind of common, but they're actually extremely low in the population level. So any added mortality can cause all kinds of problems. And Susan, I think you can attest with Tasmania, where there's a few stations, South Africa, the black harrier is under 1,000 pairs. And, I don't know how much of this is proprietary, but it's been challenging to get all the plumages of some of these rare ones. And it's really, really important to do so.
Right.
And we've had a bit of stress over this topic and a bit of success too, thankfully.
Yes. Well, our biggest, I think, was the Egyptian vulture in Uzbekistan. That the first birds to show up in the area were the adults. So very black, very white, very easy to detect. And then a month later, so it was the first time we'd ever seen Egyptian vultures. We collected all the data. We trained a neural net. We started protecting them. And then a month later, the youngins started showing up, and they're all black. And now this is a completely different bird. And we're like, ah! And so we had to go through the whole process again of collecting all the data of the young birds and then retraining our neural net so it can tell the difference. It knows that a black one and a black and white one, that it's the same species, and we need to protect them.
Right.
So that was amazing. And we were able to do that in months. That was one of our coolest successes, is that we just don't want any fatalities of these guys. And so we had, look at that's just a black bird.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
That was amazing. And that was actually the time where I was first hired to come on as a contractor with you all. And has turned out, this is the favorite job I've ever had. I know I've said this to Will in the past. It's my favorite job I've ever had. Not only the family-like atmosphere and how awesome you guys are as a team and such, but also just like the work we're doing has such huge impact. You always want to feel like you put all this effort and time in and all this blood, sweat, and tears. You want to make sure that you're going to get a payback. And I have never felt in all my years in conservation like I'm getting as big of a kickback as I do here. And it's very meaningful.
Really cool. Yeah, it's really cool. It's really amazing to see some of these rare birds and know that we can tell it apart. We can tell. If it comes through again, we'll be able to save it.
So Susan, your title is Chief Birder. How does a tech company come about having such a title? I would love to know more about this.
I get to make it up. What do you want to do? I want to be Chief Birder. I guess that's one of the advantages of being a founder. But it's a good question, because it's kind of what I do. I look at birds all day, every day. I mean, or I used to. Now there's a lot more administration part of it, but I bird all day. I look at birds from all around the world all day, and you do this enough, you can look at a blurry image and say, oh yeah, that's a raven. Oh, that's an eagle. I mean, you might not be able to tell what kind of eagle if we're in Europe or something like that, but it's an eagle. We need to protect it. And so until we brought Caleb along, I was what I thought was the chief birder, but turns out I don't know that much. I know a lot, but yeah, there's a lot more details that need to get known. So I'm just going to keep the title though. Okay, Caleb?
Yeah, you're the boss, right?
You earned it.
As much as I would like it.
Susan, did the birding start anywhere before the precipice of Identiflight, or is it totally a symptom of your profession?
They're pretty separate because Identiflight really started as raptors and eagles. So it was very small world of birding. And on the other side, I had two girlfriends, Leanne and Sue, another Sue. they are birders, and they every year would go on these birding vacations. And I'm just like, oh, that sounds horrible. You're gonna go somewhere and just look at birds. And they invited me every year. And finally, I don't know how they did it. Arizona in July. And I said, yes. What was I thinking? But it was unreal. The vermilion flycatcher was my real spark bird there.
Ooh.
That it was in a creek on a stick. It was black and red, and it just kept doing its little flycatchery thing. It would go away and come back, and it just was mesmerizing. So
great spark bird.
Yeah, that was it. That's what started the whole thing for me. For Carlos, he really stayed focused in the raptor world until just like 2 years ago, and now he's a full-fledged birder. So got him sucked in nicely.
I've witnessed the evolution firsthand.
Yes,
since hanging out with you guys.
Yes.
And Will, I also led Susan and her two friends around Michigan last summer to get Kirtland's warbler and stuff. So that's one of the first times that I've invited people to come do it. And they took me up on the offer. So it was great.
We did. That's one of my pictures I wanted to show. Is there a way for me to share?
Where are you guys in this photo?
It's Hartwick Pines. In fact, Susan, we were looking for, at this point, we needed Magnolia warbler, Canada warbler, and we had gotten Blackburnian. Oh, black-throated blue we needed as well, if memory serves. We were kind of on a warbler finding mission. That was the focus of the trip, was to get as many species of warblers as possible. And we did really well. The only problem was it wasn't spring migration. It was more like June. And so you had to find them on territory. You couldn't just get them at migration hotspots, or stopover. So it was a little bit harder, but it was fun. It was a really awesome adventure.
It was amazing. It was really amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if Caleb invites you up to take you birding, y'all should just take him up on it. Most definitely.
Thank you.
That's great. Well, I'm jealous of your continual falling into the world of birding. It's a pretty magical experience, and it just gets bigger and bigger, doesn't it?
It does. Last year, my world list was 1,090 birds. I had an amazing year last year.
Incredible.
So, yeah.
Few people world travel like Susan and Carlos, which is a lot of this is for work, but it's like Australia, Africa, just on repeat. I'm very jealous.
For reference, I'm a pretty well-traveled birder, and my total life list is about 1,200. So,
oh wow.
So you've done pretty well for yourself in 2025. That's amazing.
I'm really proud of that. It was really cool.
And Will, they also called us from Nairobi, I want to say, in the most recent one. And somehow Susan was able to find Wi-Fi and sending us photos of super obscure African rainforest birds. It was incredible.
It was. That's awesome. That's where I got my 1,000 was in Tanzania. So in the Serengeti. That was amazing. Yay.
That's amazing. Very.
Yeah.
We're going to do Africa. Caleb and I are talking about doing Africa in the next few years here. So we could definitely use some consultation on that.
Okay. I have the people for you. I know who can lead you.
Great.
So Susan, I want to ask a few more questions, some fun questions. We've covered a lot of the technical stuff. What are some of the coolest behaviors that you guys have observed, with this incredible library of crappy images, as we love to call it?
Yeah, the absolute coolest is in Uzbekistan. The golden eagles will catch tortoises. They'll come down, they'll catch tortoises, and then they will fly them up in the air and drop them, and then chase them back down.
Oh.
And here I have a track. I figured out how to present.
That puts the lammergeier to shame. The lammergeier is just dropping bones to break them on the rocks.
Yeah.
This thing's actually dropping live animals. That's super sadistic. Oh, jeez.
It's golden eagles are a little scary. So this is our dashboard, our tool that we look at tracks of birds as we are being tracked. So you can see kind of here is where the track started, and then it flew around and it went here. And here is our station that took the images. If I zoom out, you can see there's turbines. But so this track is this golden eagle here, and you can see in its claws, it's got a tortoise. Let me make it a little bigger here. It's got a little tortoise. You can see its little tortoise shell There it is, dangling. And then it starts like, I don't know, shakes it up a little bit. It still has it in its claws. And then here, it's gone. It dropped it right here. And then this bird dives after it to make sure that no one else gets it. And what you can see here, we also track it. Here's the bird flying and then down to the ground to go eat its little snack.
Unbelievable.
Poor bird. Isn't that incredible? So
macabre.
Yeah, isn't it though? And then I have another one here that bird fights. We see quite a lot of these. And then the red kite playing with a bottle this is in Spain. It's got a little bottle and it would drop it and chase it. And it just was ridiculous.
What a bird too. So gorgeous.
Yeah. Isn't that incredible? So that was, we see just amazing things.
So this is getting my gears turning. Have you ever talked to any other more like research-oriented ornithologists that are interested in having this capability? I'm sure this kind of technology isn't cheap, and the processing, I'm sure, is not cheap. But I'm thinking about some big labs that are studying bird behavior. I mean, I'm just looking at that red kite playing with that bottle. It seems like the opportunities are endless.
They are, and we've, so we own our data, and the wind farms or the customers own the data, and so there was one in Sweden that they did they had a PhD student do a paper, and it got accepted at a conference, and they got to present it. So we've been on through many studies. We've collaborated with a few universities and environmental groups to do just that, to look at bird behavior. How do black storks react to turbines? How do black kites react to turbines? It's a really wanted question. The answer would be really good to know. And so we have a lot of data, and we have a lot of data. We could find out anything.
So I've also been wondering how much of the identification process falls on people like Caleb and other staff that you have, and how much is conducted by the neural network. And I know as we say neural network, is this artificial intelligence?
Yes, it is. It is artificial intelligence, AI, but it's like AI plus, that it's not. Yes, you could point your cell phone up and get a picture of a golden eagle and it'll say golden eagle, but can it do it 1.5 kilometers away? Can it do it while it's speeding down? So it takes a lot of data. AI is what you put into it. And what we put into it is immensely clean data. It's at least 3 cycles that we have a group of, currently it's 5 people, looking through a portion of all of our data from all of our sites. And they put labels on every single image to say golden eagle, Benelli's eagle, black kite, whatever. They put them all in buckets, essentially bird buckets. And then we have a check that we look through those buckets to make sure there were no mistakes, which happens. And then we check it a third time before our software team needs it to create a new neural network. And we make sure that we just give them clean data. And so that's our team, Caleb and I, and then 5, 6 others, I guess, actually. We collect the data, we make sure it's perfect. And so then the neural net goes to the system, and it does its own thing. It has to determine a bird in less than a second. It gets one image and it has to choose what it is. So our job is a lot slower. We can look at it later and make sure that our systems are doing what they need to do, make sure we're calling eagles, essentially. And we're really getting zoomed up on this biodiversity thing where we want to know everything we see. We've captured images of over 400 different species of birds around the world. It's ridiculous.
And there's a lot more to go. Like, I know there's a bunch more species in there. It's just a matter of actually nailing them down. Because Will, the thing is, birders don't look at bad blob photos, but Identiflight classifiers do by definition. So it's this weird, like, Middle Earth thing that you live in where nobody else lives with you, and there's no book about how to do this. We have to kind of write the book of how to tell all these species apart. And for somebody with a brain like mine, this is like a
Yeah.
perfect job. But I don't think there's too many people, including like birders who are really advanced at this and could do a good job of it, who would sit at the computer long enough and just trudge through all these images. So it's like this weird, perfect kind of situation for me. And I just love this job. I really appreciate the opportunity, and the team is so great. I was thinking when you were talking, Susan, you have like, what do you say, 5 or 6 classifiers right now?
Yep.
A lot of these folks aren't even birders, at least historically, but it's interesting to see how they get really, really good at identifying terrible images. And, but then that usually does result in them getting more interested in field birding too, right, Susan?
Yes. We've done a few birding trips. When you came out to Colorado, we were able to all get together and go birding, and they do. There was one of the women, I think it was Cora. She said that she was just doing something. She's like, "Oh, there's a red-tailed hawk," and someone said, "How do you know that?" She's like, "It's literally my job." So yes, it is.
Well, it's funny. You don't even have to be an advanced birder to know that once you get a little bit of knowledge, you can see a speck off in the distance and go, "That's a red-tailed hawk." You're not seeing any field marks. You're not even seeing any color, but flight style, general size and shape, things like this. Basically what you're doing is you're training a machine to think like a birder, right?
Yes, that's exactly what we're doing. How do we do that? How we get together every week and we kind of go through any really hard images that we can't do. And our software team joins that meeting because they really want to learn how we learn the birds. So if they understand how the human mind can learn the birds, they can translate that to machine learning and AI.
Yeah. Well, it's also super interesting because I would argue, like, I get asked as the identification lead for the classification team, how do you know what that is? And I immediately go, well, I know that I know what it is, but I can't exactly explain. Like I say it, right, Susan, in the calls all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, it's hard to put this into words, but there's a shape of, there's a gestalt, there's a certain color pattern that you've seen, and it's just repetitions. And then so I went and asked the AI people, how does the AI, the neural nets, actually do the identification? And mostly what I've heard is that they don't know. You just put in like thousands and thousands of known identity images and tracks. And then it just sort of is a black box that we don't know what's going on inside the box. We just know that it's working. Do I have this right?
Amazing. Pretty much. We're getting better at knowing, so we know what kind of data to put in. And that helps a lot. But yeah, that it is looking at, everything. How many fingers, the coverts, the pelagiums, all those techno talk that you like to use.
Yeah. You guys will make a human out of me eventually.
We're trying. I think we got you on one. Didn't you like pokey birds? We need a pokey bird section. So
pokey, stripy, fluffy. There's a whole list of them.
I like that. We're training machines to think like birders, and we're training Caleb to think like a human.
Yes, I know. It's like a win-win, isn't it? It's a win-win.
I think the latter one is the harder one.
Maybe.
Well,
Susan,
we'll work on you.
Yeah.
There's
Susan,
hope. There's hope.
I'm super curious if you had to guess, what is the 10, 15, 20-year future of Identiflight and this technology? Especially given, we're looking at potentially the U.S. starting to move away from licensing of wind farms and things like this. What's your gut say about this? I know you sound incredibly optimistic, as do I, about the technology itself.
We're just taking a break in the United States. We'll come back around. We were on a very good, strong path. And we will come back around in the United States. The rest of the world is still moving forward in understanding biodiversity, protecting the world around us, wanting to balance it all. And what it's going to take, it's going to take, unfortunately, to begin with, it's going to take consequences on wind farms that do choose to build a wind farm near a nesting site or something like that. There's going to have to be consequences, rather than just, oh, maybe you guys should stop that. So that's number one. And then our systems are going to be, they're gonna get better and faster, and we're going to be able to, maybe stop for every bird, and that would help not having to pick. But also the wind turbine manufacturers need to step up and create turbines that can stop. That these, of course, were never built to stop, and so there is wear and tear on it. But the wear and tear on a turbine is significantly less than the extinction of a bunch of species. So balancing it, the turbine manufacturers probably are a big one that they have to come, and they have to invent a way to blend in, to take our technology and be able to use it.
It's so interesting. I imagine before Identiflight came around, there just was not a strong business case to be made for designing a machine that can stop or slow down on a lark. I'm also curious, what is the most effective way to reduce mortality? To completely stop the turbine, or to slow it down to a certain amount?
Slow it down to a certain amount. I think we consider under 2 RPMs stopped, that you need to slow it down to that. Often it could distract the bird, and then the bird's paying attention again. The eagles can see the turbines. They know, they play in the wakes. They see that, and they're doing their thing, and then they see a squirrel. They see a competitor, and they are one-track mind. They're birds, and so they then don't think about the turbine anymore. They're worried about what they're going to eat, who they're going to fight, and then that's when they get killed. So it's not on them. And I did completely forget where I was going with that.
No, yeah, that's.
I know the feeling. I know.
Gone.
No, that totally answered my question. Yeah.
Okay.
What an exciting venture. Yeah, I'm jealous of you guys.
It's really cool. It's really cool. We get to see birds every day, and really cool birds and new birds. And we've started, so I think we have Instagram, Identiflight's on Instagram, and we're putting up now new species that we keep finding. So we've started it with like an Andean condor. We just put a system in Chile. So it's our first South America system. That was our 6th continent. Yay. But we get to, there we go. Look at those. So these are from Chile. It's amazing. The things that we get to do and we get to see. So that's our Instagram.
Awesome. Yeah, I checked out the account yesterday or the day before, and I ended up scrolling all the way down to the bottom because I was like, oh, that's cool. That's cool. That's cool too.
It's really fun. It's really fun.
Caleb, anything to add before we sign off?
I honestly kind of think we've touched on basically everything I've put in here. So
one of the questions you had is, how does Identiflight decide which birds are at risk? And we don't get to decide, because if I were queen, it'd all be protected. So it has to do with local regulation and what the wind farm considers a risk. So for example, there's a few farms in France that they are not protecting the white-tailed eagle, but they say it's because they're not there. And that's true. To some extent, a vagrant could come through, but so they make choices like that rather than potentially stop for a bird that we called a white-tailed eagle, that isn't, they would just rather us not really decide to shut down for them. So we don't get to choose that. And that's all on the regulation side.
Interesting. Well, thank you, Susan, for coming on the show. I feel very lucky to be able to talk to a founder of such an interesting company, doing work that is, overlaps obviously with my personal love of birds and my professional interest in the energy sector. And, having worked in wind, Caleb and I are both just thinking, oh, thank goodness somebody is taking this on, because it's making the world a better place. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. This is really fun. I love talking about what we do out there saving the birds.
Absolutely. As always, thanks everybody for tuning in to this episode of the Real Birding Podcast. To support the show, please like, share, and subscribe. And otherwise, bird on. Have a good
Right
one,
on.
y'all.